The story I am about to tell you happened to me a few years ago while I was walking in the slightly busy downtown area of my hometown. It was a normal sunny afternoon, and I was just minding my own business, crossing the street at the intersection. But in an instant, everything changed. My heart raced as I stood there, frozen in shock and disbelief. The screech of tires filled the air, and my instincts kicked in. I turned my head to see a car hurtling towards me at an alarming speed. Panic surged through my veins as I desperately tried to jump out of the way. But I wasn't quick enough. The car collided with me, its impact sending me flying through the air. Pain ripped through my body as I crashed onto the hard pavement, my vision swirling with a blur of colors. The world seemed to slow down as I lay there, gasping for breath. I heard the screeching of brakes and the panicked voices of bystanders. It was then that I realized what had just happened, a hit and run. With the last ounce of strength I had, I managed to turn my head and catch a glimpse of the fleeing car. Its driver showed no remorse, no concern for the life they had just endangered, leaving me battered and broken on the street. The pain was unbearable, throbbing through every inch of my body. I cried out for help, but the sound seemed to get lost amidst the chaos. I felt helpless, vulnerable, and scared. Moments later, a wave of relief washed over me as a crowd gathered around. Strangers rushed to my side, their concerned faces providing a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness. They called for an ambulance, ensuring that help was on the way. As I lay there, waiting for the paramedics to arrive, I couldn't shake off the feeling of anger and frustration. How could someone just drive away after causing such harm? It was a cruel act, one that had almost claimed my life. The paramedics arrived, their calm and composed demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos that had unfolded. They assessed my injuries, providing me with some relief that I would receive the care I needed. In the ambulance, as the sirens blared, I couldn't help but reflect on the fragility of life. In a matter of seconds, everything could change. I vowed to make the most of every moment, to cherish the precious gift of existence. At the hospital, doctors and nurses worked tirelessly to mend my broken body. It was a long and arduous process, filled with surgeries, physical therapy, and countless hours of pain management. With the help of eyewitnesses and surveillance footage, the police launched an investigation. I provided them with every detail I could recall: the make and model of the car, the license plate number, and any distinguishing features of the driver. It took several weeks for the detectives to make any progress, and the search for the perpetrator intensified. News outlets picked up the story, spreading awareness of the hit and run. It became a community effort, with people sharing information and rallying for justice. Suddenly, one day, I received a call from the police. They had apprehended the individual responsible for the hit and run. It was a moment of bittersweet victory, a closure to a chapter filled with pain and uncertainty. In the courtroom, I faced the driver, their eyes filled with remorse. They expressed their regret, acknowledging the consequences of their reckless actions. It was a small semblance of justice, but it brought me a sense of closure and relief. Life slowly returned to a semblance of normalcy, though I was forever changed by the experience. The physical scars on my body served as a reminder of the fragility of life, but they also symbolized my strength and resilience. I hope that no one else must face the terrifying reality of a dangerous encounter.
A few years ago, before I bought a car, I used to walk home from work at about 10 o'clock at night. At first, I was scared to walk home alone at night, but eventually got used to it. On some nights, I would go into a nearby gas station on my way home. I would purchase a pack of cigarettes for my mom and some snacks for myself. The manager would always compliment me and smile at me. It was obvious that he had a crush on me. I was always polite and said thank you even though I was not interested. A few times, the manager would offer to give a ride home. I would always thank him but say no. Sometimes I would even ask him if he left to take me home, who would take care of his customers. He would always have a silly response like, "You're my favorite customer." I usually chuckled before walking away. One night I walked into the gas station a little bit later than my usual time. I made my purchase, and the manager rang me up before closing the store. "Hey!" I heard him yell from behind me, and when I turned around, he asked, "Can I give you a ride home?" I politely declined, but when he got in his car, he began following me and yelling out the window. "Come on, let me take you home," he said. I assured him that I lived close to the gas station and would be fine to walk home. The more I declined his offer, the more he begged me, and the angrier he became. He stopped his car and got out and grabbed me, then said, "Can't you tell when a guy wants you?" he asked. I told him, "Get off of me, you're nuts." I yelled at him while punching him. He let me go and drove away. Fast forward a few weeks later, all the news outlets in my area were reporting on 3 missing girls who were found after being held captive for a few years in a basement. The news reported that the man responsible for holding the girls hostage was in custody. A picture of the man flashed on the screen, and guess who it was? The gas station manager. I couldn't believe what my eyes were seeing. The news reporter stated that investigations revealed that the victims were acquaintances that he had given rides to. He would offer them rides, and when they accepted, they were held hostage. I couldn't help but think about how lucky I was to not accept a ride from this creep. Who knows, I could have ended up like these girls who were held hostage. Everyone should be careful about who to trust. Some people hide behind their charm and are simply a devil in disguise.
My name is Cameron, and this is the story of how I barely escaped being kidnapped by a ruthless street gang as a teenager. I had to fight for my freedom and eventually had to leave everything behind and start a new life in a different state. I was just an ordinary teenager trying to navigate the challenges of adolescence when I found myself in the crosshairs of a ruthless street gang. Growing up in the heart of the city, I witnessed the ruthlessness of the gangs in our community. Their presence had a lot of influence. Most of the residents were afraid in our hearts while we watched the gang control the streets with an iron fist. My mom, who was a single mother, was determined to keep me away from the gang's cycle of violence and destruction. One day, I was walking home from my best friend's house. As I made my way home, I ran into a group of the gang members. They approached me with an offer, one that came with a heavy price. Joining their ranks meant surrendering my morals, integrity, individuality, my dreams, and becoming a cog in their criminal machinery. With every fiber of my being, I refused their offer. I knew that joining the gang would only lead to a life of crime and despair. Little did I know that my refusal would unleash a storm of danger upon my life. The gang, fueled by anger and a lust for control, vowed revenge. They made it clear that my defiance would not go unpunished. They would stop at nothing to break my spirit and make me pay for my audacity. As weeks went by, I lived in constant fear, constantly looking over my shoulder. Their menacing presence loomed over me, like vultures waiting for the perfect moment to strike. It was only a matter of time before their relentless pursuit caught up with me. As I walked home from school one afternoon, a group of gang members approached me. Their eyes burned with anger and resentment, fueled by my rejection. Without warning, they jumped on me like a pack of wild animals. Their fists rained down upon my body, their boots stomped against my defenseless form. Pain seared through every fiber of my being, and I felt the weight of their hatred crushing my spirit. In that moment, I honestly thought I would never see my mom again. My heart sank in fear as I realized the depth of the danger I was in. Their punches became more painful and the curse words they screamed at me more piercing. I cried out loud hoping someone would come to help me, but no one came. I didn't bother to fight back because the odds were stacked against me. I was outnumbered and most of them were larger than me. The gang's brutality knew no bounds, their anger escalating with every blow. As the assault continued, my body grew weak, battered, and bruised. But amidst the pain, a fire ignited within me, a determination to survive and reclaim my power. Through gritted teeth, I refused to let them break me. The attack seemed to last an eternity, but eventually, they grew tired of their sadistic game. They left me lying on the ground, broken and bleeding, a symbol of their dominance and my defiance. As the gang disappeared into the shadows, I slowly picked myself up, my body trembling with pain and adrenaline. Tears mingled with the dirt on my face as I staggered home, the weight of what had just happened settling upon me. Realizing that I had nowhere to turn, my mom made the difficult decision to leave everything we had behind and start a new life in a different state. We packed our very few belongings and bid farewell to the city that had shaped me. It was a bittersweet farewell, a mix of sadness and hope for a better future. Arriving in a new state, we faced the daunting task of starting over. We had no connections, no familiar faces. I had to rebuild my life from scratch while keeping a low profile to avoid drawing attention to myself.